Yo, Natsu here. As you can see, a new series. But this time I have a good reason. You see, I've got a new phone, like I explained in the first part of the other video. If I remember correctly, I did. And basically, right now, I've decided to do two what ifs at the same time. One where I'm inside, which is kill fruit Deku, and one where I'm outside, which is this. What if Deku had all the gifts from Encanto? So, the reason why I decided to do that is that I was finally able to watch the movie fully, instead of just able to listen to a few songs. So, basically, I'm now making a what if about that. Since basically the moment it came out, well, that ad started to pop up and stuff, I really wanted to do a what if on that. I just wasn't sure if we knew all of their powers, and if they were going to show us some more things in the movie to basically more easily quantify what they're able to do. Which means that today, I'm starting. So, first things first, except for Deku, nobody else is going to have actual magic. And I found a way for him to have it, where it starts off in a good way. So, let's start like this. Everything in My Hero Academia world is exactly the same, except for one place where outside of the city, close enough so that if Deku needed to still go to school, which he will, he can still get there. He just needs to leave early. Obviously, his mom is going to bring him there most of the time when he's younger. And when she can't, he's just basically not going. But basically, around the age of 3, there was an accident in, the apartment complex where Inko and Deku lived. And what happened was that it was basically fully destroyed, and she had to find a new place to stay with Deku. With pricing and other things, she basically found a small house that was outside of the city, but like I said, close enough so that they can still go in, do stuff, and Deku can still go to school. So, they go and live there. Deku is still 3 years old, and basically, the first time they entered the house, they felt as if there was a warm welcoming. They didn't understand why until a few days later, Deku saw some of, parts of the building move on its own. Which surprised him, but he's a kid, so he's more amazed than anything. And basically, over time, he starts to play with the house. And at one point, he actually talks to Inko, which made her skeptical at first, until not long after, Deku basically told the house to show her something, with the house doing it. Basically making Inko see that, there's something with the house, but it doesn't seem harmful, and Deku seemed to actually love it here. In fact, after a few days, she actually sees that the house is actually pretty helpful with the chores and everything else, which actually makes Inko want to stay there and kind of hide it from others. Well, partially. Though she doesn't really talk about it, simply because, it would be weird, and if people knew a house was alive, they would think something is wrong with the house and that it's either someone with a quirk making it move or other things. They live there for a while until Deku turns 4, gets told he's quirkless, and other kids bully him. At one point, Deku comes back crying, and the house basically sees this as Deku really being hurt. Basically, she didn't do anything for now, but was preparing something. Deku's wish was to be the best hero. Someone who could save everyone, someone who could be invincible like All Might. And basically the house started to plan stuff. Which basically took nearly the entire year until Deku is 5 years old on his birthday. Which is basically... Sorry, there's a car coming. Well, a few of them. Be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Oh yeah, also, if you hear the sound, basically the thumping, that's me walking in the snow. Since obviously I'm outside. So... there is snow. But yeah, basically, Deku still gets bullied until the age of 5, where at one point, during his 5th birthday, he's listening to birds outside, and actually starts to understand them. Well, near instantly, it passed from just sounding like they're singing, to actually talking. With them starting to talk to them. And that one I didn't even see it coming. Sorry about that. But yeah, that was only one car compared to the 5 that I had to pass through, which are more annoying. Basically, once, Deku gets his first gift, since they will come over the years, not all at once. So, 5 for his first gift, and there's 7 more afterward. Oh yeah, also, the video might not be that long, just because it's kind of cold outside, so yeah, my hand is partially freezing. But anyway, Deku basically understands them, talks with them, they understand him, and it basically kind of just keeps going until Inko comes into Deku's room to basically see him with a massive flock of birds and kind of just talking with them. When he tells Inko that he can hear them and understand them, she's skeptical at first, which is kind of understandable. But after a bit, she actually sees that, he can talk to them, make them do stuff he wants, and basically is able to do what they want as well. Kind of. Which basically makes her take him to a quirk doctor to see what's going on, because obviously for now they don't know it's the gifts from the house. And basically, they do tests and say that no, he is quirkless, or he should be, but seemed to be a late bloomer. And that each and every one of the, animals he talked to seemed to be able to go from savage to cuddly the moment he talks with them. Which is weird, but could be helpful in hero work, depending on where he is. So, they basically tell him that he might be able to become a hero. Which amazes him, obviously. and is super happy about it. When they come back to the house, he basically tells, well, the house how happy he is that he finally got a quirk. Which, for now, he won't understand comes from the house, and it won't try to explain either. For now. Which basically made him, well, go back to school the next time, and basically show his quote-unquote quirk to people, showing that he's not different from them. He just took a bit longer to get it. Which made Bakugou a bit schemish, because obviously he was bullying someone for being quirkless when they weren't, or at least that's how he sees it. He doesn't feel bad for it, he just thinks that he bullied the kid for the wrong reason. And basically tries to find faults on Deku to keep bullying him like he does with everyone. Calling him Deku more and more, calling him an extra most of the time, until they go to the zoo one day and basically Deku kind of just speaks to the animal, which allows him to pet them while nobody else is able to, and kind of surprises the zookeepers. Over time, stuff happens until he is 6 years old, where he gets his second gift. This one is the ability to control and make plants grow, which he didn't find up until a few days later. Basically, what happened was that he was at school, and basically, let's say, they had in class plants that were dying. Not because of any particular reason, they were just sick and they couldn't do anything about that. Deku is basically sad about it, and basically thinking that if only they could be prettier, if only they could be better, or feel better, and basically they start to grow, and basically make flowers in a time of year where they shouldn't. Surprising most of everyone. And basically making everyone think that, wait, what just happened? Did the plants grow on their own? Or basically thinking that someone else around must have used a plant quirk. But seeing around, Deku basically thought to himself that he might have done that, and tries it out around other places, and basically finds out that he doesn't need it to be dirt or plants already there to make it grow. He can make it grow out of anything, or make pollen right out of his own hands, make flowers or anything, which basically made him try to grow many plants he was able to look for on the internet, making his mom a bit scared at first until she basically sees him growing plants and telling him to at least do it outside. Because obviously making all of those plants inside the house could be a bit dangerous depending on what they are. Mostly since he made a few types of carnivorous plants, which aren't directly dangerous to humans, but could be problematic in some situations. Mostly with the size that he made them. So, basically, Deku kind of just stopped doing it inside, and basically, once again, a few days later at school, basically showed everyone that what he could do. Surprising, once again, everyone. For reasons I'm pretty sure you should understand. I'm passing next to Peoples. I'm going to pause just for the time that I'm going there. Be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So, basically this is a part 0, like you can see. Which this part 0 is basically explaining, well, the 6 first powers he got, and basically the reaction of people around him, and mostly Bakugou's reaction, to be precise. And the reason for that is because he's basically the one who changes the most in correlation of Deku. He won't be the little bastard that he is. Sorry for the way I say it, but that's literally it. He'll still be angry nearly all the time, but he won't basically insult people in a real way. This time it's more or less going to be still insulting them, but this time a bit more politely, I should say. Basically all the nicknames will still be there. He just won't act like he wants to kill everyone all the time, because Deku will make him a bit humble, but since he won't fight all that much against Deku, basically until Deku gets, well, his last gift, he won't be all that, well, impossible to beat. Though the last one will make him a piece of work. Simply said. Which you will understand why. But yeah, basically, after showing his second quote-unquote quirk, everyone will basically think that the reason he got his first quirk late was because, well, that's mostly the teachers and basically the quirk doctors, is basically that his body has more than one quirk and seemed to be adapting itself over time to basically push them out in a way that won't destroy his body. Which is funny because that's basically how it sounds for One for All. But in reality, it's the house basically looking at how Deku acts over time and giving him gifts that are kind of relatable, but also basically in a way that doesn't make it too suspicious and won't make him grow too fast either. So basically the first one, animal talk. Or animal voice, since they will most likely call it the same thing as the other guy. Basically Deku, many times over, was looking at heroes who had animal powers and such, on top of All Might. The problem is that the house, basically compared to Encanto, yes, is magical, but doesn't want Deku to just kind of become a tyrant. So basically meaning that it's going step by step, making sure that Deku won't abuse its power. It knows that Deku isn't evil, and will most likely never will be, but it's still taking precautions. So, step by step. Though his fourth one will be something that will challenge him for a bit. But anyway, basically, at 7, before his birthday was even there, quirk doctors basically asked to do tests on Deku beforehand and see if it happens again. Which it does. This gift, which is shapeshifting, from one of the cousin of the main character in Encanto, basically allows the person to transform into anyone that the person has seen, or any clothes that the person has seen, which basically allows them to transform their clothing, their own body, and when the magic actually starts to fail, and even before that, he can even change the way things are. So, example, his father basically turned himself into a smaller version of that. So he can mix and match anything, and basically do the same with clothing. So, yeah, that's a good power. Though Deku tried it on someone with quirk, and I'm limiting that at least, because they are directly physical. So, example, he won't be able to copy Bakugou's quirk or All Might's quirk. He might be able to buff himself by using a look-alike, but he won't gain the strength of One for All. But if he looks at someone like Tsuyu or Jiro, he could copy the frog-like parts of the body and use those, since he can literally see it on a person and how it works, just like the earphone jacks from Jiro. So, well, though for Jiro's earphone jack, they won't work like actual earphone jacks. So that's going to be the downside, compared to Tsuyu, where he's going to be able to copy the appearance of it. His tongue could stretch out the same, but it won't be sticky, he won't be having the ability to stick on walls and other things like that. So he can copy the look of things, but not the actual powers. Which was all tested. He even tested it with Kachan, which didn't work at all. Which he found a bit sad, but basically understood that, yeah, it might be different. Though it made it funny for everyone, since Deku literally just changes clothing as many times as he wants, and basically turns into anyone that he wants. He is taught to not do that too often, since they're not supposed to use their quirk in public. But basically at school he kind of does it often, mostly to mess with the teachers, but that's basically it. Kachan reacts to that quirk, basically just telling Deku the first time he turns into him, "Oh, look, you finally look cool. All you had to do was change all of yourself." Basically bullying Deku, but not doing much, since Deku basically finds it funny. But yeah, Bakugou basically keeps trying to bully Deku on all the gifts he have. Like the first one, basically saying he wouldn't be a good hero unless he's specifically around animals. Second one, basically saying at first, before finding out that, oh yeah, he can make it from any time, basically telling him that, oh, but you need dirt to be able to create those, which he doesn't need, so that doesn't matter. Which was found out pretty quick and basically shut Bakugou for that one. Now, shapeshifting, all of the insults Bakugou could find, Deku just found them useful in basically thinking of stuff to do. Basically, mix and matching stuff basically came from Bakugou telling him, well, bullying him, and telling him that if he can mix people, he might be able to become someone. So, yeah, Deku tried that, found he could, and you get the point. The next gift is the one from Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. Sorry. Basically, Bruno can see the future. Though, the restriction for his powers are that he needs a big open space, a lot of sand around him, and that when he uses it, he sees stuff through the sand, and once he's done, a part of that sand condenses itself to basically form a slab that looks like jade that has an image of what he saw. That one was the first time that the house actually tried to explain that she was the one giving the gifts, and basically tried to make Deku use that one. to basically see what could happen. It took him a while to understand it, until the house basically had to drew how to use it. So sand, and basically tried to see the future. Deku did scare his mom because basically it looked like a tornado appeared in their yard, which will happen later. But basically, what happened... Sorry about this, there's a car. Okay, yeah, sorry about this. So basically, the first thing Deku saw was actually his mom getting hurt while going to the store. Basically telling her not to go, her not trying to do what he says because she just thinks, oh, it mustn't be that bad, I'll probably be able to see what's going on, but still get injured. Obviously, it's not that big of a problem. It's basically someone pushed her by accident, and she basically fell and hurt herself. It wasn't too bad, like I said. So basically she understood that, oh, a new power. And basically when Deku said that the house told him how to use it, something started to be skeptical. Basically asking the house if it was the one giving Deku those quirks, with the house basically, by moving some parts of the house, showing yes. And basically Inko asking how many there will be, with the house making a movement reminiscent of an I don't know, because it itself doesn't even know yet how many powers she wanted to give Deku, though it will end up at 8. But anyway, basically once that happened, Deku for the first 3 months used it many times before people saw it as him predicting dangers or disasters, and basically making it look like that quirk was bad. Which was weird for Deku's mind, because basically for him, he could be someone really useful by basically telling people what disaster can happen so that people prepare. But everyone in his class, to be more precise, was basically calling it a bad quirk. So Deku wanted to stop using it completely, and kind of did partially, only using it in rare instances. And yeah, that wasn't very often. Basically in total he used it around 40 times before UA, with half of them being when he had just gotten it, before getting his next power. Also, whoops, sorry about this, be right back. Okay, yeah, just wanted to make sure of something. Basically, well, people made it look like a bad quirk, except the teachers wanted to try and push that away, but it wasn't working. Since literally all the kids were able to see was that, oh, he tells me I'm going to get hurt. He wants me to get hurt. Which is not how the power works, but obviously that's how people see it. Which basically made everyone just look at it like that was a dud from his list, because he literally stopped using it. The next year, his new quirk at the age of 9, sorry about that one, was the ability to hear. Or, to be precise, super hearing that allows him to hear stuff from miles away. Like in the movie Encanto, they basically say that she can hear people talking normally from a mile away quite easily, or hear a pin drop without any problem. So, yeah, that hearing is quite powerful. And then think of it like this. He can understand what animals say as long as he can hear them. His hearing range is now in the miles range, which means that, yeah, if he wants to, he can learn of anything going on anywhere by just asking the bird to look around. So, that's quite something. Oh, it's starting to snow. I'm going to have to close it a bit early. I'm at least going to finish with the 6 quirk I was explaining. Well, gifts that people see as quirk. But yeah, basically, that one, they were basically forced to buy Deku special earplugs that basically were able to lower down his hearing to only a bit above normal people. And that was hard to do and took a long time. So basically, he was mostly stuck in the house until that happened, because just someone sneezing or talking a bit loud next to him was kind of bad for his head. It was way too loud. But yeah, people saw that quirk as awesome, since that basically means he can hear every secret being told around. Or someone basically saying that with that, even in cover mission, someone could basically talk very low just to talk to Deku on how to say something, as long as they were close, quote unquote, since obviously he can hear stuff from way too far. And the last quirk I'm going to talk about today, at the very least, tomorrow I'm going to finish with part 1, where other stuff will happen. Basically, the last one is one that I find really, really funny. Weather control through emotions. So his emotion controlled the weather. And if he learns how to control his emotions, he can make any climate at any point just by forcibly changing his emotion in that moment. If he is neutral, nothing happens. If he is happy, sunshine. And you get the gist. Basically, the worse the emotion, the stronger the disaster. Example, too much stress equals a hurricane. Which basically made Encanto force Deku to take classes to control his emotion near perfectly, to the point where he doesn't show anything. He doesn't feel anything unless he wants to feel them. Specifically because about 5 tornadoes happened in the span of a week during exam week. He stands, so there are a lot of exams during those times of schools. So basically, they were kind of forced to do that. Though, one good thing is that thanks to Deku's hearing, if he didn't have his earplugs, well, quite simply, he could hear when something was starting. So he could calm himself before then. Though a few times it did happen, but the good thing is that it wasn't in places where it was too dangerous, or at least people were there to stop it before it became too dangerous. But yeah, by this point they understand that the house gives those gifts, and Inko basically told the house that this was too destructive and that he needed something that was easier to control. Which the house basically couldn't take back the gifts. It basically made them parts of Deku. Basically, in Encanto, as long as the house had power, the gifts could be used. But in this, I'm tweaking it a tiny bit, where the house basically turned Deku into the embodiment of those gifts. So instead of it needing to give power to Deku for them to work, Deku's making them work by himself by basically becoming a being that makes magic to push the gifts further. Which, yes, the gifts do get stronger with age, but not by that much for some of them. Example, talking to animal doesn't really change that much over time. The hearing does increase over time a bit. Some of the others' ability does as well. Well, do as well. But yeah, so basically up until now, Kachan was still trying to bully Deku, but at this point, even people who look at quirks, quirk doctors, quirk scientists, and in fact, even Thomas Shield, because he was needed to make Deku's earplugs. So yeah, Deku knows Melissa and Thomas Shield, since they did go to his house, from Thomas Shield actually wanting to test out stuff himself. So yeah, Deku already knows Melissa. That's more like, oh, they met once or twice, but that's still, he knows she exists. Obviously, in canon, he knew Thomas Shield existed, but he didn't know of his daughter. But he knows she exists now, which will be a surprise for All Might. Anyway, basically, Bakugou was forced to see Deku as good, well, better than him, simply because the amount of powers he had and the complexity of some of them, since obviously as they got older, higher thoughts were being put into their mind, and he started to understand that Deku didn't just receive those powers and then just knew how to use them. He had to learn how to control them. He had to learn how to make them work without destroying everything around. The plant one was the one that he thought Deku had the worst amount of effort to put in it at first, but then basically over time understood that Deku was basically training that one near constantly, because, oh yeah, he wants to make a small forest. He needs to control the amount of trees, the strength of those trees, and make sure that they don't destroy anything. And basically made Bakugou understand that he needs to train as well. Deku wants to be the best hero, and he is showing that by training. He was training as well, but over time he understood that what he was doing was nothing compared to what Deku had to do. Multiple quirks, for what they think, and he basically needed to train them all nearly at the same time, since only 1 year of interval isn't that big when you think about it. Normally people need to learn 1 or maximum 2 quirks at once, but they learn it at the same time. Deku was different. Literally had to learn 1, then add a second one, then a third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And he understands now that, yeah, no, Deku's been training way more than anyone. He still bullies Deku, but now, like I said, it's more in a playful way. And he actually starts seeing people as, well, people, not just, oh, your quirk look weak, you're weak. Sorry about that. So, this is the bigger changes in Bakugou. He trains more, so he's stronger. He also doesn't only train his quirk, but a lot physically, on top of training his work more heavily. So, yeah. Bakugou's going to have a bit more muscle on him. Deku as well, obviously. But, yeah. Those two are going to be strong. And, little tiny spoiler, One For All's user will have a rivalry with Bakugou. Mostly because Bakugou is actually able to kind of keep up because of all the training he had done beforehand and all the training he keeps doing. In fact, sometimes even with Deku himself. So, yeah. Kind of overpowered, let's just say. So, yeah. I'm ending it here, and either tomorrow or the day after that, I'm going to continue this one. The day I'm not doing this one, I'm going to try and do the other one. So yeah, hope you liked it. Leave a like if you did. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section. If you want to know about, well, where I saw the movie, if you don't have Disney Plus, I can put the link in the comment section. You just have to ask. Though it will depend on if I actually find it again. So yeah, good luck. Natsu, out.